Okay, so what I'll do, inshallah, for all of you guys who are going to be watching this later, in 5 minutes, I'll actually start the lesson, inshallah, but I'll give you guys a few minutes to sign up, and in the meantime, I'll get mic'd up and I'll set the lighting up and stuff. We'll wait for some people to join. But as the title of this video suggests, we'll talk about some Form 10 verbs in today's lesson, so let's move this light around here. I've got this cool little light. There we go. Cool. Bismillah. Yeah, so as I was saying, like in what we'll do in this video is we will talk about Form 10 verbs, which are verbs on the wazn of istafa'ala. Yeah, that's what we'll do. So the problem with this light, actually, well, I've got some people here. Assalamu alaikum, guys. How you guys doing? My light was covering the number of people who have got here. So give me a thumbs up if you can hear me, by the way. We'll wait maybe 5 minutes or so, inshallah, before I'll actually start what we're doing. So we'll give some people some time to turn up. And yeah, how we doing? What we got? Wa alaikum salam, Habib. May Allah bless you. How you guys doing? Let's put this over here, maybe. Maybe out of the way there. How you guys doing today? I haven't had a thumbs up yet to let me know that you guys are here and you can hear me. We'll be here for about half an hour, inshallah. Yeah, we'll talk about Form 10 verbs and we'll have some Q&A at the end. I won't spend very long talking about it. We'll maybe do 15 minutes or something. I've got 5 verbs I want to talk about today. So we'll do like, we'll just do today and we'll go live tomorrow as well. And we'll do 5 Form 10 verbs today and we'll do 5 Form 10 verbs tomorrow. So we'll talk about forming imperatives. We'll talk about useful nouns that come from these verbs. We'll talk about how we conjugate them. We'll talk about what they mean and where their meanings come from. A little bit about the actual nature of Form 10 verbs in and of themselves. So yeah, we've got some cool stuff to talk about. And then we'll kind of have a bit of a Q&A at the end. I'll leave maybe 10 minutes at the end for you guys to ask anything that you want. So I probably won't actually take questions during that time. We'll leave them until the end and then we'll just spend some time, maybe 10 minutes or whatever, to just hang out and I'll answer any questions that you guys have got. Cool. Cool. And then for any of you guys as well, actually, who are watching this later, yeah, I'll maybe put a timestamp in the description box as well, so that any of you guys who are watching this later, you can just fast forward to it till we actually start. Or while we're hanging out here, if you guys want to ask anything, then fire away. Cool. All right, we'll start in 2 minutes. Six people here. Thanks for coming to join me. Little shout out actually to all of the students who have joined the Arabic in 60 Steps program this month. Yeah, it's been really cool to meet all of you guys and stuff. It's been cool to chat to those of you guys who have reached out. And yeah, very, very warm welcome to the program. It's great to have you guys on board. Shout out as well to the students on the exclusive program as well. The students on the exclusive program are well past step 30. It's in step 29, I think, when we do Form 10 verbs, but they're way past that now. They're into the numbers lesson, so step sort of 35 to 40 now. So we're getting into the very later stages of the program, which is really exciting. Inshallah, the students will graduate in July, so that'll be really cool. Really, really looking forward to that. So yeah, shout out to those guys. Shout out to Juan, shout out to Farouk, shout out to Rashid, shout out to Asima. Yeah, shout out to Sushant as well, of course, and to Majda as well. Cool. All right, in less than 1 minute, we'll actually start talking about some Form 10 verbs. So if there's anything you want to ask before we get into it, then go ahead. Cool. But generally, like when we're actually into the main lesson, I won't take questions until the end. Cool. Bismillah. All right, 20 seconds. We'll get into it. Okay. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum everybody who's joining this, who's watching the replay afterwards, and a very warm welcome to the Arabic in 60 Steps YouTube channel. Hope you guys are well. So in this little live stream, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about Form 10 verbs, and what that means are verbs that are on the istaf'ala pattern. Istaf'ala in the madi or in the past, yastaf'ilu in the present tense, and the istif'al pattern in the masdar or the noun. So in this particular video, we'll talk about 5 examples. I'm going to do 5 today, and I'll do 5 in a live stream tomorrow. And there'll be 5 that are used in the Quran. They're very useful, and some of them you maybe even use regularly in your, even if you don't speak Arabic, like just as a Muslim, you might use them in your normal language, and you may not appreciate where they come from. So maybe we'll start by talking a little bit about what Form 10 verbs are and what they generally mean. So like, firstly, is that they're usually to do with seeking something. You know, so for example, we'd have like a Form 1 verb, like nasara, for example, to help. So the verb istansara would be to seek help, right? Or, you know, there's, you know, the verb like ghafara or ghafara leh, whatever, is to forgive. But the verb istaghfara, yastaghfiru, istighfar is the word to seek forgiveness, right? That's kind of one use of it. Another one is to consider something another way. So, you know, we might have the root letters to do with something being far away. Hence where we get the adjective ba'idun, meaning far away. So we have the Form 10 verb istab'ada, which means to consider something far away, right? Like those are kind of 2 of the most common meanings of a Form 10 verb. To consider something a certain way or to be seeking a certain thing. So on to the first example then. The first verb that I want to talk to you guys about is the verb istaslama. What are the root letters? Okay, what are the root letters? The root letters are from the verb selima in the Form 1, which means to kind of to have peace or to be peaceful or something like that. Hence where we get the word for peace itself, the word salam. And the Form 10, on the other end of the scale, typically we learn about verbs from Form 1 to Form 10, but there are forms above that actually, but they're not in kind of the main scope of Arabic grammar that we normally teach, certainly to beginners. But the Form 10 is istaslama. So what would it mean to seek peace? We end up with this meaning to surrender, right? We end up with the meaning of surrender from that. And, you know, interestingly, I remember watching that. We've got this show here in the UK. I don't even know if it's still on, but it's called Big Questions. It used to be on Sundays. I don't know if it still is. And they talk about things, you know, religion and politics and whatever else is kind of controversial at the time. And we had these 2 kind of individuals who are known in the public sphere in the Muslim community. Neither of them are representatives of the Muslim community, but they're kind of on 2 extremes. We had like someone called Majid Nawaz here in the UK, who's like an ultra liberal, like real extremist on the side of being a liberal, right? And then we had Anjam Chowdhury, who's like on the real extreme of you know, the other extreme. And it was interesting hearing them both talk about the origins of the word Islam, because they had very, very indicative understandings of the word Islam, because the word Islam is actually from the Form 4, from the verb aslama, which means to submit peacefully to Allah, right, or to become a Muslim. It kind of has that meaning now. Like if you were to say you've become a Muslim, you can use the verb aslama. You can say aslamtu mundhu sanataini, for example. I became a Muslim 2 years ago, right, or whatever you wanted to say. So it's in the Form 4, right? That's actually what it is. So it's actually in the middle of these 2 extremes. That's the truth is that the word Islam comes from the middle of these 2 extremes. But we had Majid Nawaz on one extreme, on the very liberal extreme, saying that Islam comes from the verb salima, to be peaceful. Islam means peace, right? You hear this very kind of reductionist understanding of Islam from some people. But then on the other extreme, you had Anjam Chowdhury saying Islam comes from istaslama, which means to surrender, right? It's all just about surrender entirely. And both of them have bits of truth in them, right? But, you know, as is the beautiful thing with Islam, is that Islam is actually the middle of them, of those 2 extremes. And I thought it was quite interesting watching that little conversation unfold. But anyway, so we have the verb istaslama yastaslimu. And an example of this I always give, especially my students who are children, is if you watch the movie Kung Fu Panda in Arabic, so they have the character who is Po, right? But the label they call him is the Dragon Warrior. They call him a Tinin al-Muqatil. And there's this line in it where Po says, Tinin al-Muqatil la yastaslim. He says that the Dragon Warrior, la yastaslim, he does not surrender. He does not give up, right? So the verb istaslama means to surrender, or we get that meaning to seek peace. But sometimes you seek peace through surrendering, right? Like by surrendering is how you end up with your peace, right? If you're in a situation where there's conflict, a way to seek the peace would be to surrender. The next example I wanted to give you, so verb number 2, is Yeah, it's from the verb istata'ama. Istata'ama. So many of you maybe know the word ta'am, meaning food, or maybe you've been to a mat'am, a restaurant, right? Plural of which is mata'am. Or even you maybe even heard the verb at'ama, which means to feed something else, right? The verb ta'ama on its own means to kind of to feed yourself, but at'ama means to feed somebody else. Or to feed an animal or something, you can use the word at'ama for that. But istata'ama, what would it mean? It means to seek food, right? Or to ask for food, right? There's this ayah in Surah Al-Kahf when there's Khidr and Musa alayhi salam, and what's the ayah? فانطلق حتى أتيا قرية استطعما, or something like that. It's some of that wording. I can't remember the exact wording of it, but it's in Surah Al-Kahf in that story. If any of you guys find it, put it in the comments for me, please, inshallah, just for the benefit of other students. It's about Musa alayhi salam and Khidr. They go to a village, a qarya, and they istata'ama, and you'll notice that there's a long elif on the end. Istata'ama. I think it's ayah 77 on top of my head, because I did check it the other day, but so it's later on during the story of Khidr. But you'll notice there's this long elif on the end, so that's a good passage for learning the dual in Arabic, actually. Like I always kind of tend to direct students towards Surah Ar-Rahman when they're learning the dual. Because there's tons of them, like almost every ayah in that whole surah is like an for everything, yes, Judan, etc. Right? But yeah, my student Juan, he brought my attention to the fact that in that story of Khidr, there's loads of duels because it's Musa and Khidr who are who are going through the story together. So there's loads of duels to talk about the two of them. So that's where we get the word istata'ama from them, seeking food or requesting food. Really nice. The next example is one which I had until the other day, until I was teaching this to Rashid and Asim, two of my students on the exclusive program, I had never actually thought about the word istikhara before. When we pray Salatul Istikhara, I'd never actually thought about the word istikhara before. But my student Asim brought it up and said, well, what does it mean? What verb form pattern is it in and stuff like this, right? And what are actually its root letters? Like, we use the word istikhara all the time. Like, usually when someone's going to make a big decision or someone's thinking of getting married to a certain individual or something. But and we just kind of use it, right? Like, so often us Muslims who aren't Arabs, we use so many of these sort of Islamic terms, alhamdulillah, subhanallah, jazakallahu khayran, etc., right? And maybe don't actually understand the language root of it. But so istikhara, when you pray Salatul Istikharati. So the verb would be istakhara, present tense yastakhiru, and then the masdar istikharatun is what it would be. So I'll talk you through how we form it first and foremost, because that's actually a hollow verb, right? It's a fi'l ajwaf because there's an elif in the middle. And the good news is that dealing with hollow verbs and final weak verbs is that in the derived forms they're way easier, right? Like how the vowels behave are dictated by just by the pattern of them, like as in the present tense would be expecting. Yastaf'ilu, there's a kasra on the ayn letter. Yastaf'ilu, right? So when you get to istikhara, you end up with yastakhiru, right? That kasra on the ayn letter kind of dictates that. In any of these, in any of these sort of hollow verbs in the form 10, whether it be istiqama, it would be yastaqimu. If it would be ista'ana, yasta'inu. This alif will always become a ya in the present tense, just because of how the pattern dictates how the vowels end up manifesting themselves. So anyway, that's how we get our verb istakhara yastakhiru. So if you have a look at that bit on the end, this khiru, this kha, ya, and a ra. What other words do you know in Arabic that have those letters, or even only those letters? The word khayr, right, meaning good, right? There's lots of words for good in Arabic, and they all kind of have their own nuances. But if something is khayr, you don't say that someone's like khayr at playing football. Like you don't use khayr as like an adjective like that. The term khayr kind of has built into it like a moral good. If you're talking about al khayr, you're talking about the moral concept of the good, right? Good, okay, yeah, so jazakallahu khair, Khalifa, yeah, for putting the ayah, yeah, sorry, so that's what I was thinking, there's a hatta in there, I forgot about the hatta. So yeah, فَانْطَلَقَ حَتَّى إِذَا أَتَيَا أَهْلَ قَرْيَةٍ إِسْتَطْعَمَا. Really nice, jazakallahu khairan, I really appreciate that. So yeah, so I was saying with this verb. So when you pray Salatul Istikhara, you are seeking the khair. Right? We know that's what it means, right? That's why people pray Salatul Istikhara, but like I'd never really thought about actually what the root letters of that are and the fact that they're the same root letters of the word khair. I hadn't actually thought about that before, even though like, you know, I've got an Arabic language degree and I've been teaching this, you know, I've probably taught Form 10s, I don't know, 30 times in my life, at least, you know, and I'd never actually thought about that word that we say regularly and how it's in a particular pattern and what its particular root letters are, which I thought was pretty interesting. So we talked about a hollow verb, right? A verb with an elif in the middle, and how it behaves in the Form 10. So I thought it would be useful for us to look at a final week verb, or a fi'l naqis. That ends up being translated as defective, by the way. Like if you ever need to search using English how to use defective verbs or final week verbs, we often use the term defective for them. So the verb I thought we'd use is another one that's used in the Quran, actually with the Prophet Musa alayhi salam as well, is the verb istasqa. Istasqa, present tense, yastasqi, right? Once again, like the alif maqsura in the past becomes a ya in the present, simply dictated by the kasra on the ayn letter, right? It'd be yastaf'ilu in just a strong pattern. So istasqa, yastasqi, right? Because of the kasra on that ayn. So it's very predictable, like the way that these hollow verbs and final week verbs behave in the derived forms of verbs are really predictable, just based on what vowels are surrounding those particular letters. So yeah, so obviously we have that ayah when Musa alayhi salam he seeks the rain for his people, right? We have وَإِذِ اسْتَسْقَى مُوسَى لِقَوْمِهِ, right? In Surah Al-Baqarah we have. So وَإِذِ اسْتَسْقَى, and when istasqa, yeah, Musa seeks the saqiyah, right? The verb actually saqiya, yasqi, I think it is in the Form 1, is literally just to water, right? But you could use that even for like watering animals. We don't tend to water humans, do we? Like if I give my son a drink, I don't say like I watered him. We might do as a joke, but like we tend to say the verb shariba, right? We tend to say drinking, right, with humans. But I remember there's this line at the beginning of that Omar series in Arabic. I think one of the Bedouins comes over to the character who's playing Omar, radiyallahu anhu, and says, "Hal nasqi min ma'ikum ayyuha al-fata." He says, "Hal nasqi, can we water min ma'ikum, from your water, ayyuha al-fata, oh, like young lad or whatever." So he uses that root. But when you do istasqa, you are seeking the water, right? And by extension, seeking the rain. I mean, there's another term, matar, which is actually for rain, but the verb isn't istamtara. That's not the verb that's being used here. I guess there's a difference between seeking rain and seeking the water. Like, just seeking rain doesn't necessarily benefit you. It's the water that benefits you, right? Like, it's the being able to water yourself and your plants and your animals from the rain, which is the point, right? I suppose there's more precision in the actual benefit you'll get from the rain when you say istasqa rather than istamtara, right? I've never even heard the verb istamtara. Like, we tend to use the, we tend to use the word istasqa. You said, yeah, fete. So fete just means a boy, right? Yeah, there is a feminine version of it as well, fetat. But ayyuha al-fata is it's a little bit like saying shab. It's a little bit like saying a young lad, like that. Yeah, cool. But if you go to the very first episode of the Omar series, it'll be one of the first things that a character says to the character of Omar. Yeah, he comes on a horse, and Omar is sort of looking after sheep or camels or whatever. And I'm pretty sure that's how he words it. Hal nasqi min ma'ikum ayyuha al-fata, and he even uses the plural when referring to Omar, like out of respect. Good. So that's a little bit about the verb istasqa, yastasqi. And then obviously as well, just like we have salatul istikharati, we also have salatul istisqa'i, right? Al-istisqa is the salah of seeking the rain, right? Like if you need rain, you've had a drought or whatever, and you do the salah of seeking the rain, that's how we get istisqa from as well. The last one in this little series that I just want to talk about just for this video, because we've done 4 verbs so far. is the verb istakbara. So obviously, most of us, even if we're beginners, probably are familiar with the word kabirun, right? Our adjective kabir. What does kabir mean? It means big, right? It's a very common adjective, right? It's in step 1 of the Arabic in 60 Steps program. Kabir. And there's even a verb, kabura, which means to grow or to get bigger. So if you do istakbara, it's not to seek something being big, it's to consider yourself big, right? So it's to do with being arrogant, right? Cool, a little example that's come up. Aba wastakbar. I'm not sure where that is. I know adbar wastakbar, but give me a reference for that, for the other students as well. But I know in Surah Al-Muddathir, there's an ayah which is adbar wastakbar. Adbar here means like turned their back on it. Wastakbar. And he considered himself big or was arrogant about something. Istakbara, to consider one's self big. The term istikbar as well, the masdar, I believe is used in Surah Nuh. It sounds in my head like it's istikbara. It sounds like that would fit somewhere in the rhyming qafiyah pattern in Surah Nuh. But you can investigate that yourselves, inshallah. But that's where we get the term istakbara. That's a really interesting one, actually, because even the form 2 from it, right? Kabura is a form 1 verb meaning to grow or to get bigger. But the form 2, kabbara, meaning to make something big or to acknowledge something as big. Kabbara, literally the verb kabbara means to say Allahu Akbar, right? That's literally what it means. And it's the masdar of the form 2, kabbara, where we get the word takbir. Takbir, meaning, the saying of Allahu Akbar. Yeah, cool. That's about it. So we've done 5 of those verbs with some useful examples. And yeah, we talked a little bit about obviously where we get these verbs from as well. So what we'll do is for the next, 8 minutes or whatever, I'll open up to you guys, inshallah, for you guys to ask any questions that you have at all. And if you don't have any questions, then we'll just have a conversation about whatever you like. So see if I've missed any. I tried to acknowledge some points as they came. Jazakumullahu khairan, all of you helped out with any references to stuff. Jubair, wa alaykum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Jazakallahu khairan for coming to hang out with me today. I was told by YouTube that I can have super chats on, but I don't know how to do that. But I don't know if I've got enough people really here for us to do super chats. I don't know. Can you please talk about tilka and dhalika? Tilka and dhalika, the only difference is one of gender. Dhalika just means that in the masculine, and tilka means that in the feminine. So, for example, Allah says in the Quran, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. He says, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ. Kitab is masculine, right? So we say, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ. That is the book. لَا رَيْبَ. There is no doubt فِيهِ in it. There is no doubt in it. But you'd say tilka if we were talking about a girl, right? Tilka al-bintu. That is the girl. Okay, cool. So I hope that answers your question, by the way. Big greetings from Turkey. Tanıstunza çok memnun oldum. Yeah, thank you for being here. Any recommendations for me to immerse in Arabic? Well, immersion is something quite hard to achieve outside of the Arab world. Although it might not be for Turkey because you've got loads of Arabs in your country. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Let me think about it. I mean, to be honest, what I do is actually there's a resource that I really like called Arabic Workshop. Just check it out, arabicworkshop.com. Check it out, inshallah. They do a free version of their products and stuff, and that's a really good way to kind of immerse yourself actually in Fusha. They've got such a good team. Honestly, like, if they were hiring, I'd want to work for them full time. Like, if Arabic Workshop were doing that, I'd love to work. If they were hiring, I'd love to work for them. Yeah, they're just a great company, really. They offer a really, really good product. They just have an entire, like, huge listening library of resources that you can really immerse yourself in. They've got, they have this thing where, like, you can watch a whiteboard animation for a certain topic, whether it be about, finding your passport or visiting the pyramids or going traveling or having an argument with your family or going to school, like all like hundreds of topics and stuff that you can immerse yourself in. So you can actually watch a whiteboard animation, and then you go to the vocabulary builder, and they have like you can listen to it only, and you can use your eyes for just looking at the vocab as you go. So it's arabicworkshop.com. arabicworkshop.com, all one word, arabicworkshop.com. Yeah. Yeah, and also I can give you a coupon code as well, actually, to get a discount as well. Type in at checkout, if you do use their yearly plan or their lifetime plan, I believe it's Arabic with Sam 10 yearly or 10 lifetime. Try those, inshallah, because I think I can get you 10% off. But if that doesn't work, try that, Arabic with Sam 10 yearly or 10 lifetime, depending on which plan you're going for. I think I can get you 10% off. If that doesn't work, though, let me know and I'll hook you up if you do want to use their paid version. Cool. رجع دارم. Cool, what else have we got? Please explain the use of ma and ماذا. Generally, we use ma if an ism is following it, generally. So, for example, I might say ما رأيك, what's your opinion? ما هذا, what is this? But we'd say ماذا if there's a fi'l or a verb after it. ماذا تفعل اليوم? Like, what are you doing today? ماذا أكلت اليوم? What did you eat today? Stuff like that. Why don't you add more stuff in My Arabic World? Well, we have some moments to be adding soon. Yeah, we have 4 more to add soon, inshallah. But just because, yeah, that's a good question, really. I mean, with me just being one person, there's certain things that need to be done before it, really. That's all. So specifically Quranic Arabic stuff, like, see, like the idea behind My Arabic World is really not to impose an idea of what we think Arabic should be like. Like, certainly in my teaching, there's always an inclination to say, look, that's kind of Ammiya and that's separate to Arabic, and we focus on Fusha for literature and the Quran and stuff. But the philosophy behind My Arabic World was sort of the opposite of that. It was like, we're just going to take Arabic videos and then we're just going to unpack them for you. We're not going to judge the Arabic, right? It's like, because something that we learn throughout building My Arabic World is that actual used Arabic in the real world, the way Arabs use it, doesn't really care about this like Fusha Ammiya divide. Like, a lot of the time, especially like political speeches and stuff, people will start out in Fusha, and then like will decline into Ammiya as they go along, as things get more casual and stuff. But yeah, so what we've found is that actual spoken Fusha is actually quite hard to come by. Yeah, so that's just me rambling a little bit about the answer. Okay, so we've got a few questions come in. Okay, so the first one from Elliot. Thank you very much for visiting the YouTube channel. So firstly, what would you suggest for learning vocabulary? So what works best for me? Well, firstly, when it comes to learning vocab, I'm a real Puritan in that, like, I don't, my default is that I don't really subscribe to vocab lists and flashcards, right? Like, I believe in seeing words in their context and learning grammar and vocabulary and stuff all at once. Like, I'll have like a passage and I'll just unpack it, right? And I'll learn my vocab in context and my grammar in context. That's just how I like to do things. But having said that, that's time consuming and that's not accessible for everybody. So if you are going to make vocab lists and flashcards, what I recommend you do is learn in topic clusters, right? So, like, rather than learning 10 verbs and 10 nouns or whatever, learn 20 words around politics. And think about how you might use them in actual conversation. Like, I'm a real believer in really like using your mind to put yourself in the scenario where you'd use it and create phrases out of using some of those words to do with politics. And think about yourself actually doing them. Like, there's some really cool stuff, like some powerful stuff, but actually really using your mind to convince yourself subconsciously that you are saying these things fluently. Right? And I do a lot of that, right? Like in the languages that I learn. There was a question about me learning Turkish a second ago. Like, I love languages of the Muslim world. Like, I love the Ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the language is just beautiful. Like the languages that exist in our Ummah are just absolutely beautiful. Like my latest little passion at the moment, I'll show you. So little surprise, little gift I bought myself. This arrived in the post today. Bengali, right? Like I'd absolutely love to learn Bangla. Like I'm down a bit of a rabbit hole of like Bangla versus Sylheti and stuff at the moment, and yeah, so I generally just love languages of the Muslim world. But when I'm studying, even those, I don't tend to make vocab lists. I tend to like to just see something in context, and and pick it apart like that. But when I was at university, like I had a demand to learn more vocab than that. Like sometimes we'd have to learn 200 or 300 words a week and stuff. And when you're doing that kind of volume, you just use everything you can. It's just a fire hose approach at that point. It's just anything that works, let's just do it. And it's not about ideal situations at that point. Cool. What was next? You pronounce Turkish words so grammatically correct. Oh, thank you very much. Teşekkür ederim. I've been to Turkey. No, I've never been to Turkey. I would love to, though. I'd absolutely love to go to Turkey. I feel a little bit of an affinity with our brothers from the Balkans and from Turkey, because I get mistaken as being one of you sometimes. I think I just look like a bog standard white dude, but like often in the masjid, if there's Albanians or Turks or Bosnians, sometimes they mistake me as one of them. Sometimes people come over to me and they speak a bit of their language to me and stuff, and I don't really know why. To some people, I don't look white enough. Yeah, so just because of that, I feel a bit of an affinity with their people. I feel like I could learn their language and maybe settle in their country and stuff and be treated like one of them to some degree. But anyway, where are we? Where are we? Okay, so we had the question, do you think studying the Quran will make me good at modern standard Arabic? I live in an Iraqi household, so I know the Iraqi dialect. Okay, so it's a really good idea just to build your relationship with the Quran regularly. Firstly, there's just ajr in it. Like that's just the obvious one, right? But like I just noticed, like I've had 600 students now in the Arabic in 60 Steps program, and there's a clear difference between those who have a regular relationship with the Quran and those who don't. Like if you're reading the Quran regularly, and actually I don't just mean reciting it, I mean actually thinking about what it means and trying to piece together why something is majroor and why is this mansoob and how is it expressing itself being marfu', and oh, is this the fa'il of this fi'il, and actually trying to piece it together. Students who actually engage with that to some degree, when they go through any kind of program, they've already got like tons of examples in their head from it. So now like my students on my exclusive program, they're constantly messaging me. They're like, oh, I just came across it. Is this a Form 10 verb? I'm like, hell yeah. They're like, is this a Form 8 verb? You're damn right it is. Yeah, like it's having a regular relation with the Quran will make so many connections just in your brain between vocab and grammar that you learn. So it's such a good idea for so many ways to improve that. So, oh yeah, so sorry I missed Jubair. Sorry I missed your question. Say something about laysa and ma. Okay, we use ma. Ma has about 10 different uses, right? But I'm assuming because you've talked about it with laysa, you're talking about it in regards to verbs. Ma is the way that we make past tense verbs negative. So for example, Allah says in the Quran, ma khalaqtul jinna wal insa illa liya'budun. He says, ma khalaqtu, I did not create, right? With ma. That's not like, there are some times in the Quran when Allah uses ma with a present tense verb, so I'm not saying it's wrong to do it otherwise, but ma is usually used like that. Laysa is a verb in itself, which means to not be. Something that confuses students about the verb laysa is that firstly it is hollow, right? It acts like a hollow verb. So for example, laysa, he did not, he was not. Layset, she was not. And then lesta, and lesti and lestu, I was not. And laysa is also from kana wa akhawatuha, so the khabar will be mansoob. What I mean by that is usually the adjective after it. So for example, if I'm going to say, I am not tall, for example, lestu tawilan. I can't say lestu tawilun, right? I need to say tawilan because it's mansoob. I mean, you asked me to talk about it, so I just talked about it. I don't know how to be more specific than that. Cool. So I don't know if some students have so inna does mean indeed, but I'm not sure if they meant inna or if they meant an, because an is a really useful word. We learn it in step 12 on the Arabic in 60 Steps program, along with lan and hatta and kay and words like that. and it will put the verb after it. It will make the verb after it mansub, and it means that. Okay, so like if you want to say I want to learn, right? You'd say أريد أن أتعلم, and we need to say أتعلم because the N makes it mansub, right? So we need to have a fatha on the end. And that's so what Arabic's doing there is saying I want that I learn, and that's how Arabic makes the meaning of I want to learn. So it's very, very useful to have N if that's what you meant. But if you did mean inna, then yeah, if you did mean inna, then it does mean indeed. You should definitely try learning Ottoman Turkish. I mean, it sounds hard. It sounds difficult. Well, I know the Arabic script already, obviously. So like, yeah, I don't know. Like my dream would be to have a separate YouTube channel where we just do like languages of the Muslim world. That would be amazing. I'd absolutely love that. And I'd just do videos every day. We'd have like, you know, Monday. What language begins with an M from the Muslim world? Tuesday Turkish. Ooh. Wednesday Urdu. Thursday Bangla. Saturday Sileti. Sunday Monday Malay. So we learn Malay on Mondays. Tuesday Turkish. Forget about Wednesday. We do Urdu on Wednesday. Thursday something else. And we just do different languages of the Muslim world throughout the whole week. That'd be amazing. Love that. An Albanian here confirms this. Well, thank you very much. Albanian's actually a fascinating language. I just watched the Lang Focus like language profile on Albanian recently. That's a language I'd love to spend a bit more time on. The word for Albanian in Albanian sounds nothing like Albanian either. Albanian is a language isolate. It's not actually closely related to any of its neighbouring languages, and it's one which you know, it's one which I'd love to spend some time on. What else have we got? I'm gonna need to go in a second, guys. I think that's it, isn't it? Oh yes, a very important question here, mashallah. How to grow a beard? Well, I'm afraid there's nothing active about it. For me, I started growing my beard when I was 19, right? So I was at university when I was 18. For the first year, I used to shave my beard. I don't really know why. I don't remember anyone coming up to me and being like, "Sam, why are you shaving your beard?" I don't remember anyone doing that. I think it was just a habit that I had from growing up, from when I was like, 13 or 14 or whatever. And yeah, and I do remember like looking in the mirror one day and being like, "Sam, why do you look like a child, mate? You should probably let your beard grow out." So yeah, I've had a beard since I was 19, but it doesn't grow any longer than this. This is the longest it ever gets. Yeah, it doesn't go any longer than this. Some people get these, mashallah, big beards that cover their chest and stuff, but Allah hasn't blessed me in that particular way as of yet. But there are some people who sell those little roller things with little spikes and stuff that kind of stimulate the skin to help grow a thicker beard and stuff. I can't verify those. I don't know how successful they are, but I know that those are a thing. No, I don't speak any Persian or any Turkish. No, sorry, no, I don't know any Persian or any Ottoman Turkish. Yeah, there's shout out to there's a juice bar that's sort of in my kind of area of London called Saffron, and that's run by Persians. And yeah, I've tried to because sometimes I give them a shout out on my Instagram when I go there. I take a picture of the juices and stuff that I get from there, and I try to say like little things to them in to try to say little things to them in Persian, but I don't know any Farsi at all. It's all just like Google Translate or something that I find in a forum online or whatever. Do we have Somali there? Someone said something about Somali, because I absolutely love Somali. Yeah, Somali is kind of Somali is like a second passion of mine after Arabic, really. Like, hence, like, I've got a whole other YouTube channel, the Sam of Somalia channel. Like, I've not made a video on there in like months, maybe years now. But that was kind of one of the first things I ever did on YouTube. And I love the Somali language. It would make sense at some time soon, inshallah, to bring it all into one YouTube channel. Like, have a separate channel for me to me to play around with all of these languages and stuff, because we'll just have a big nerd out about the languages of the Muslim world. I think that'd be amazing. Who's going to subscribe? Any of you guys going to subscribe? Going to support me in that? Because that'd be cool. Right. Right, guys, let's leave it there, inshallah. I've already gone over like 10 minutes longer than what I promised myself to do. Okay, just one more thing from Jubair. I'll go, inshallah. If you learn Bengali, I would recommend you learn Bengali of India, as in of Calcutta, because that's the standard instead of Bengali from Bangladesh. So I'm anticipating there to be languages. I'm expecting there to be dialects, right? And look, Bangladesh has a okay, yeah, thank you. Right, that's good advice that I'll think about, right? Like at my stage, I'm such a beginner that for me, I'm just gonna get this book and I'm just gonna finish it, right? But before I confuse myself about different dialects or anything at all, I'm just gonna get a book, I'm gonna finish it, right? And then I'll see how I am at the end of it. I'm trying to find a teacher as well, by the way. Anyone in London, and I'll pay, obviously, but I'd like to find a teacher. Or if there's anyone who's not a teacher, but you're a native speaker of Bangla and you'd help me with this book, then that'd be really cool as well. Yeah, I'd absolutely love to do that. And we'll see how my Bangla gets on. Because I know, like recently I had a conversation with a new friend of mine, a guy who kind of promotes Sylheti a lot. Because Sylheti is actually a different language to Bangla. It's something that I'm only uncovering this now. Like here in the UK, most of our Bangladeshis are Sylhetis, right? Most of them speak Sylheti. But like my whole life, when I've been talking to Sylhetis and I've been telling them like one day I'll learn some Bangla, they never corrected me once. Like they never told me, like that's really cool, learn Bangla, but we speak Sylheti. And it's pretty different, right? It's like, it is a different language. It's not just a different dialect. And it's even shocking to me that even Sylhetis, they'll call Bangla Shuddha Bhasha. They use the term shuddha, which literally means like correct, right? So like, it's like, you know, the term in and of itself is almost oppressive, right? It's almost oppressive, the term itself, shuddha, to call it, because it has an implication that Sylheti is not shuddha, but Sylheti is shuddha in its own way, right? Anyway, we have rambled on plenty, but I think it's been a good live today. Thank you all so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure to get to hang out with you guys for a little while. So we'll do this tomorrow as well, guys. So come back tomorrow about 5:30 UK time, and we'll do another one. We'll do another 5 form 10 verbs, and we'll have more opportunity to have a little chat as well. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Thank you so much for your contributions. May Allah bless you guys. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi وبركاته.